You're gonna ask, well, do we need to match the RAM that's in here, the speed and the spec and all that, so that it all works together? The short answer is yes, you should do that. The long answer is, hey, welcome back to Gears and Tech. Today we're going to be doing a video that is really good for those of you that are new to YouTube or new to video editing. What we're going to cover is how to build a very inexpensive 4K capable editing machine. So we actually find ourselves in this situation because we've recently brought on an editor onto the team who is able to edit videos for us to offload a lot of the workload from me, so that I can do the in front of the camera stuff while he does the editing stuff. Now, when we first brought him on, all of my content was filmed in 1080p. And that was because the camera that I was using really didn't do 4K very well. Since then, I had upgraded my camera. I'm actually doing this one on a GoPro Hero 8. So that means our raw source footage is 4K, and most of everything that we're filming is in 4K now, which means that the computer needs to be able to do a little bit more. Plus, if you haven't noticed, this is a studio. I've got a green screen behind me, and so the computer needs to be able to run that green screen and run microphone through a separate audio source and run the video and run everything else. And our editor's machine has been very sluggish. Now he's using an old MacBook of some sort. If you know me at all, I am not an Apple fan at all. I think that you overpay and you get less than what you pay for. I think there are better options out there for the budget-conscious consumer. If money is no option, Apple makes great products and a lot of people enjoy them. But if you're like me and you're just kind of getting things going, you don't have a lot of cash to shell out for the top tier machine. I'm gonna show you what I've bought, and then I'm gonna walk you through some of the things that you should be looking for when you're building your budget machine. Hey, before I get too far into this video, if you are liking this content, don't forget to smash the like button down below and hit the subscribe button so you know when we're releasing our next fresh new content. Now back to the video. So let me show you what I got. It's this. This is a HP, what is it? An Elite Desk. This is a business class computer. You can tell from the sides here that it's actually made to also go like this. You can put your monitor on it and whatever, but it does have little feet so that you can use it as, it weighs a lot. So you can use it as a mini tower. Now I'll tell you about the specs of this, and then I'll tell you why we arrive at those specs. This computer has an Intel i7 processor. It's a 4770. The 4770 is a 4-core, 8-thread processor. It has 8 gigabytes of RAM, 1 terabyte hard drive, which is a standard mechanical hard drive with a little platter that spins up, and it has a NVIDIA GTX 1050 GPU, so a video card. I would say that this is kind of the low end of the specs that you want to be looking for a computer. And I'm going to pop this side cover off. A couple things that we're looking for. So first of all, we do our editing in Premiere Pro. Okay, if you use Final Cut, well then you're on Apple anyway, and this video won't apply to you. The question that you're gonna ask yourself first is, if I'm looking for a budget machine, do I buy a tower such as this, or do I buy a laptop like this Lenovo, which is actually, this was purchased as my remote editing laptop. I actually bought this year as well. This laptop has a Ryzen 5 processor, which if you're looking in the newer space, in a laptop space or a desktop space, AMD has really stepped up their game as far as what they offer in price to performance. So you can get a Ryzen 5 or a Ryzen 7 for a reasonable price. I would not actually recommend, if you're looking at a new computer, to be looking in the Intel camp, because you will pay more. Just like I don't like Apple because you pay a lot and you get a little, in Intel right now you're gonna pay more than AMD and you're not gonna get more, you're actually gonna get less. AMD currently is the place to go in the new end, but for a laptop like this, I got somewhat of a good deal. It was about $800. It does 4K okay, but not great. And this machine, I need it to do 4K, at least okay, and probably better. Laptops generally will cost you more money, and they will give you less upgradability options. Like, I can't change the video card in that laptop ever. Whatever it has is what it has. So whatever you buy, it's what you're stuck with. Whereas with this, I have upgradability. So this gives me a good base. Now, how much did I pay for this? I bought this for about 250 US dollars. So it was just over 300 Canadian dollars for this. I can edit 4K exactly how this is. But there are a few things that I can do to make it better. We're going to upgrade the RAM. This has 8 gigabytes of RAM right now, and you can see that there's 4 slots here. 2 of those slots are already used, so we've got 4 gigs per slot. In this case, we need to look at what this motherboard can handle. And this particular motherboard can handle up to 32 gigabytes of RAM across 4 slots, so I can put 8 gigs per slot. You will not be able to put one stick of 32 gig in. It just doesn't work that way. Typically, you figure out what the max capacity is, divide it by the number of slots, and that's how big each slot can be. In this case, I got a 16 gigabyte RAM pack, and this has 2 8 gigabyte sticks of RAM. So you're gonna ask, well, do we need to match the RAM that's in here, the speed and the spec and all that, so that it all works together? The short answer is yes, you should do that. The long answer is, I don't think it matters as much as people pretend that it does. And so this RAM was whatever I could find on Amazon that was 16 gigabytes. In this case, it will be DDR3 RAM, because that's what this computer takes, because it is a bit older motherboard. That will limit our ultimate upgradability, but for now, this will work great. I'm gonna stick this in, and that will bump us up to 24 gigabytes of RAM. Would I like more? Sure, I'd like 32 gigabytes, but this is a budget build. 16 gigabytes of RAM is reasonably priced. I'll leave the other 8 in because it doesn't hurt anyway, and we'll do that. I'm also going to install this. It's a 240 gigabyte SSD. When you're editing videos, editing on an SSD makes all the difference. If we're running on this big old clunky hard drive, we will experience major slowdowns and major stutters. We're going to install the operating system on here, and we're going to use this for the primary editing storage device. Once the editing has been complete, we will leave this hard drive as additional storage, just a 1 terabyte hard drive, so we can dump the files onto there for backup and archiving, but the working files will always be run off of this. And we're gonna put this in, which is just an AC dual band Wi-Fi USB card. This is the cheapest one I could find that supported dual band. So it was about $15 Canadian. All of these things I got on Amazon. I will have links in the description for these items that would fit in this computer, as well as budget items if you have a newer computer and you want to get like DDR4 RAM, for example. I'm not going to cover the install of everything because that's not what this video is. This is just telling you, get these components. I want to talk about RAM. My personal current editing machine has 40 gigabytes of RAM, and I've monitored the RAM usage in Premiere Pro, and Premiere Pro is never using more than 10 gigabytes of RAM. So when you're asking yourself, is 16 gigabytes enough? Yes, it is. Is 24 gigabytes better? Yes, it is. Why is it better? Well, if there's extra RAM capacity, your GPU will actually use some of that RAM for the video processing. All the RAM will get used, it's just not going to all be used in editing in the way that you think that it will. Now, about processors. In Premiere Pro, there's 2 things at play. When you're actually doing the edit, Premiere Pro does not use the video card. It uses it a little bit, but not a lot. It uses your processors. So what you're looking for when you're trying to build a budget computer is the most logical processors and the most threads. This one, like I said, is a 4-core 8-thread. On this laptop, it is a Ryzen 5 4500U, which means it has 6 cores. So it actually has more cores than this one, but it also only does, I think it's 6 threads. So this one has more threads available. So as far as overall workers go, it's a good balance between the two. If you can find a machine that has 6 cores and 12 threads, that would be better than 4 and 8. If you can find one that has 8 and 16, that would be even better. It's a balance of price to performance though. This machine will absolutely do 4K with 4 cores and 8 threads. It will just barely do it, but it will do it. That covers the cores and the RAM. The next question is the video card. So this video card is a GTX 1050, which is one of the lowest end spec GTX 10 series cards that you can get. It only has 2 gigabytes of RAM. For your video card, more RAM is better. And what does that look like in the real world? It's very, very simple. When you are ready to export your video, and it's gonna take all of your edits that you've hacked up and you've added all your effects and your filters and your transitions and all of that, and you hit export, the video card takes over, and how powerful it is will depend on how quickly your video will render out. A card such as this, for example, it will, for one of my videos that are about 15 minutes long, this card will take roughly 1 hour to render out that video. Now, in my personal machine, I have a 1070, which has 8 gigabytes of RAM, and that same video that I rendered with this one, I can render out in about 15 minutes. The card obviously is a little bit faster, a 1070 versus a 1050, but the 2 gigabytes versus the 8 gigabytes makes a huge difference. The thing with render time though is, the ability to render it out is not as critical as you would think. You do not need a 3080 in here to try and render those videos faster. It would be nice for sure. But you could edit this whole video in real time at full resolution with this setup and still be able to just hit export and go to bed. And when you wake up in the morning, your rendered video will be there. In fact, when we're talking about my editing laptop, I use this out at the cottage, and when I've edited videos out there, I'm able to edit the video fine, but this took a couple hours to render out the edits. So I just hit render, and then I go to bed. When I wake up in the morning, the video is there. It is a bit annoying because it's nice to be able to, on my workstation here, I hit export and then I start working on my thumbnails and everything. By the time the thumbnail's ready, the video's been exported and I'm ready to upload to YouTube. So it's nice to be able to have that workflow all in one shot. Whereas this will break up your workflow a little bit, or if you're a little bit slow, you can go for dinner or something, go for lunch, this will render out. And my videos are a little bit more intensive because we're using the green screen, we're using slides and wipes, we're merging multiple videos, lots of B-roll and that sort of thing. If you're doing a more straightforward edit, this machine would render that out a lot faster for sure. We're installing RAM. A couple things to know for swapping your storage. So this hard drive here already has Windows on it. It already has all my software on it. It already has the license key. It's been activated. There is a way that you can connect this storage drive, this SSD, and transfer everything from that hard drive to here. And that software is called, I'm gonna look it up right now, Macrium Reflect. So this is what the website looks like right here. If you search on Google, it's the first thing that'll come up. And there's a free version right here that you can download. Now, the thing to know about this is, I've used this in the past, it's worked great. For whatever reason on this computer, it kept on erroring out at about 50%. And I looked online and it said, oh, that's because the drive might have bad sectors. That's a number of reasons. I tried to repair the reasons that the internet said would fix it so that it would work, and it just didn't work. So I used a different software called Aomi Backupper. This one is also free and it also errored out. No matter what I did, I tried this. Everyone said that if that other one doesn't work, to use this. I used this, it also didn't work. What I decided to do, and I wasted hours trying to get it to work, running it, having it fail. Try something else, try to fix it, run it, having it fail. And I know that I can install Windows fresh, but this has a CD key, but it's already baked into the software. I want to use that CD key. I just went on to Google and searched how to extract the CD key from my already installed active license of Windows. I found a software, downloaded it, ran it. It spat out what my license key was. And then all I did was pulled this drive out and stuck it in here like that. And like that. And then just like that. now this machine is actually running on the SSD. So I booted it up and tested it, made sure that it's working. It is working perfectly. So now I will be reconnecting this hard drive and formatting it so that it's just an extra storage drive, and that's all that it is. So once that's all done, this machine will be 100% ready to go. You can plug in any monitor you want, any keyboard, any mouse, and you're good to go. It will edit 4K video at full resolution without any stutters or hiccups for a basic to medium level of edit. What am I going to do with this now? I am going to actually go to our editor's house, Russ. I'm going to be dropping this machine off and setting it up for his new workstation. So Gears and Tech is actually donating this machine to our editor because we're at a point now where his machine is actually slowing us down so much that I think that he isn't able to see in real time very well how the video looks unless he renders it out and watches it, which really slows down the workflow. So because he'll be able to watch it at full resolution, we'll be able to catch things like low resolution videos in the B-roll that end up really fuzzy when we output at 4K. We can pick up in the green screen when there's little fuzzes that appear on my shirt or in the shadowing or stuff. You can't see that when you're just watching still frames, but when you're actually watching it, you can see that fuzzing occur and everything. So this will allow him to pick up on all these little things that he wasn't able to see because his machine was holding him back. I believe that the quality of our edits will go up significantly once this machine is in my editor's hands, which is why I want to get it there sooner than later so that you guys get to watch a more watchable video and something that you enjoy to watch and learn something from too. Now, before we end the video, I do want to have a quick FAQ and just kind of go over some things that you can do to research as you go. I'm going to talk about the processor first. I don't know all of the different processors that are out there. I don't know the specs. I don't know all that stuff. I don't know any of that. Usually what I do is go onto this website. It's called User Benchmark, and it's cpu.userbenchmark.com. We'll put a link down below. On here, you can pull up any computer that you want, and I compare it. So if I'm looking at a couple different computers, I can pull up the processor spec. In this case, this is a 4770. Okay, now you want to compare it to something that you already know. So if you already have a computer and it's not working great, you can pull that computer up. But I'm going to use this laptop as the example. So this laptop has a Ryzen 5 4500U. You can punch both in and then it gives you a rank. So the rank is right here, 56 out of 2825 and 59. It tells you useful things such as the year that it came out. This processor came out in 2013, whereas the one in here came out in 2020. It also usually tells you the number of cores and threads. This one is an i7 with 4 cores, 8 threads at 3.4 gigahertz. This one does not give me that information. That's not critical yet. But what it does give you is this right here. And this is the part that I look at the most. This is the user benchmarks. And they give you a speed rating out of 1316 currently. That number will change. It says this speed rank is 224th and this laptop is 244th. And then it tells you what you could use that processor for. So in this case, it says gaming, it's about 75%. As a desktop, it's about 79%. As a workstation, it's about 62%. So is it the best workstation? No, it's not, but it's pretty good. It's at least green. And when it's compared to my laptop, and this is how when I was buying this, I knew that I was making the right choice. I know that my laptop does 4K video just fine. So when it ranked up to my laptop and it said it's marginally better than your laptop, I said, okay. It'll also break down a lot of the stuff, the memory latency. It'll talk about the overclock memory latency. It's got a bunch of other graphs and charts. Now, I was looking at like a 2770. Okay, so for example, when I'm looking at a used computer, here I'm on Kijiji. Now this one is, you'll notice it's actually the same as this. It's an Elite Desk 800. When I look at the specs, so he says that this has a Core i5 4570. We don't know if a 4570 is any good. We don't know if this one with a 4770 is any good. It sounds like the number's not too far out. So I can do a search in here, 4570. And then it'll say, okay, is it a 70 or is it a 70S, an R or a T? Well, in this case, it's a 4570. That's it. So then this will tell us right away that this is this computer right here that we're looking at that looks the same as this, and it's a little bit cheaper. It's only a 4-core, 4-thread. When I look at its how good it is here on these rankings, the ranking is worse, and the application I intend to use it for as a workstation is significantly worse, 55%. So I know to not buy that, and that lines up with what I was saying about the more cores and the more threads, the better it is. So you can use this website, this user benchmark, to compare which processor you're looking at buying. The other thing is, make sure that you have slots available for your RAM. I have seen computers that are for sale that say that they have 8 gigabytes of RAM and all 4 slots are filled up. That means each slot only has 2 gigabytes of RAM. So you need to know that and keep that in mind, because when you go and buy your upgraded RAM and you're putting 16 gigabytes in, you're actually going to be taking 4 gigabytes out to put the 16 in. So you're going to end up with 4 gigabytes less than what you really hoped you would. So ideally it'll have open slots, or they'll only have one RAM module in there and it's 8 gigabytes, because then you can really fill it up. If it has a GPU, that's perfect. You would like one with a GPU. If it doesn't have the GPU, the onboard graphics will kill you. But if it's like the computer that I bought, it didn't have a GPU either, but the price was cheap enough that I could go and buy a GPU. And this computer will likely end up with a GPU upgrade at some point because it's upgradable, and I'm just waiting for the GPU prices to actually come down to a reasonable number. And then Russ will likely end up with a 1070 card in here so that he can render out those videos faster. But like we talked about, the video card will not affect your editing performance. It will only affect your rendering performance. And I know people that know better than me are going to tell me how wrong I am. Before you tell me how wrong I am, this is a gross generalization for the average everyday consumer. We don't want to get them all confused with extra stuff and technologies and whatever. It doesn't matter. Just know that the processor cores are what makes your editing experience work, and your graphics card and RAM size is what makes your exporting, your rendering time lower. So when you watch this video, it will be the first video that will have been edited on this new machine. Russ is going to be giving it a test drive at that point, and you'll be able to decide if the better machine has led to a better edit. I hope this video helps you out. Don't forget to check out some of our other videos over here. We do have a lot of great content in the technology space as well as the automotive space. This has been Gears and Tech. Have a great day.